Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I just wanted to share with you an army showcase this week. It's a long-standing army that I've been adding to over the years and continue to. A 6mm classical Indian force, predominantly Bacchus with a few other manufacturers thrown in. I'll zoom in a moment on each of the units that make up the force, but this predominantly was designed to play to the strongest and sword and spear. So multiple base elements in the gridded squares. Generally speaking, it would have been between 3 and 4 bases to a unit, other than things like the elephants and the chariots, which were 2 bases. All are based on 40mm wide bases, 30 deep for mounted and 20 deep for the foot. You'll see that the army generals are basically mounted on 2-penny or 1-penny pieces. We have the main generals on elephants in howdahs, and we have a few other mounted elements as well. So it's a really interesting army to use on the tabletop. Lots of variations of units. It does rely very heavily on the impact of its elephants and its longbow, equivalent longbow archers, which actually the Indians were very adept at using. Not the same type of longbow that the English used back in the day at Agincourt, but these were all the same, very effective archer based units. So what we'll do is just zoom in, show you some of these units in a bit more detail, and hope you enjoy the rest of the video. So the first unit that we're going to look at is the Indian elephants. These are Bacchus, 3-figure crews, and again various paint schemes. But I just wanted to give you a flavour of a battle scene at the famous battle where the Indians took on Alexander, and let's show you what the figures themselves look like. So I've got 5 bases of these, 2 elephants to a base. They're on 40 by 30 mils, and you can see, if I just zoom that one in a little bit closer for you. There you go. The crew and they're sort of spear armed. Let's see if we can, there you go. You can kind of get a flavour of the details on the figures there. Beautiful models. And what they do is give you the scope to go for some sort of quite colourful units there. I've got various different colour schemes, doesn't really matter, but what you can get a flavour of there is what lovely little models they are, super little models. And the bases are very simply brown base. In this case, these were painted and done a little while ago, so before I started using Bacchus's system, it was PVA glue, flock, and then some grass tufts, but I think they look pretty good. Quite pleased with those. So that's the elephants. So these are the 4-man crew, 4-horse chariots, heavy chariots that the Indians used. And again, what I want to do is to show you kind of some of the some of the finer details on those. You can kind of see the chap sitting in the back there, bow armed. So again, kind of a nice dynamics. Again, plenty of different color options. So we've got a red one there. Again, you can kind of see how that looks. They're nice little models. Bit tricky to put together maybe, but they look really nice when you get them on the table. And there's only enough room for one on a 40-30 base, because they're quite wide models, as you can see there. That's a blue one, and again, this one here is a blue one as well, just with a slightly different design there. So that's my heavy chariots. So these I use for multiple uses. Sometimes they're used for skirmish units because they're quite widely spaced. Other times light infantry. But importantly, these are, again, as was commonplace with the Indian units, spear armed. You know, these weren't by nature of the type of army they are. They weren't heavily armoured or drilled troops. These were light, irregular tribesmen, really, to some degree. Spear, a wicker shield, and pretty much not much else. But again, effective units at whittling down the enemy before the big things like the elephants hit home and hopefully do the damage. So these are the cavalry arm, and doing a lot of research and reading prior to putting this army together, this was actually quite sizable. Classical Indians used mounted troops, again very lightly armoured cavalry, but they would probably be classified as medium cavalry or tribal cavalry, depending on the rules you're using. So they fought in mass formations, so they wouldn't be fighting necessarily a skirmish cavalry per se, but again, you know, you use them how you want to use them. So again, we've just gone for various different types of shield colours. Again, they're irregular kind of troops, so lots of different types of horse there. But again, spear, short spear, shield, no armour of any note, other than the shield, of course. So that's the cavalry arm. So one of my favourite units when I play this game is my two-handed weapons, close combat assault troops. So again, these guys carrying very large weapons, big swords in this case. Of course, they're not the same as a broadsword, but certainly, as you can see from the cut of the figures there, they're carrying some fairly hefty weapons. Again, no armour of any shape or form. Their job was to get in close as quickly as possible and wreak havoc in the enemy formation. So these are probably, from a war game point of view, a fun unit. I've kind of based them in this sort of like semi-wedge formation, which obviously would normally be a cavalry formation, but I quite like the way they look, the style of the figures and how they come out when you look at them like that. I think they look quite effective. I don't know if you can see that okay. There you go. Again, Bacchus figures, and very nice. So that's my two-handed cutting weapons close combat unit. Now we get into the bread and butter troops. So these are the Indian spear infantry. Very, very simple units. Big long shields, as you can see there, and spear, again outside of the shield, no real armour of any note there. Hopefully again you can see that. Sorry for the light. There you go, hopefully that's a bit better. So very basic paint jobs with Indians. They're not difficult to paint, but again they're very nice models, and again they look good massed together. So we've got a couple of units of those. We've got some with little standards on there as well, which I've just kind of added those strips, backer strips in accordingly. So that's the spear armed infantry. So the other mainstay unit is the archers, and no classical Indian army should be without lots of archer units. I've got 8 stands here at the moment. Again, these are backers. Let's just show you those as close up as I can. There we go. Hopefully you'll be able to. There you go. Again, really nice models. And we've got various formations of those, different colour schemes. Let's just pop another one in there for you just for visual impact. But again, they look nice. I've massed them in large units of 4 strips here on a base, but they look good massed up like that. And as you can imagine, lots of units of those, quite effective. The benefit of these, certainly in a lot of rules and from reading as well about the way that these fought, is that they could or did have some close combat ability as well. So they would use their bows and close with the enemy, and certainly have some combat abilities, unlike a lot of archer based units. So we're getting towards the end now. These are the generals of the army. So the elephant mounted generals, again Bacchus figures. You can see, we just put that in there like that. Again, lovely little models. In fact, I'm not sure if these are Bacchus actually. These may be a different manufacturer, like Rapier, so I do apologise if I've got that wrong. As I say, it was a while ago that I painted these, but I do believe some of the models in this army were in fact Rapier 6mm, due to limitations in the Bacchus lists. I sort of went looking elsewhere, and again they're just nice models to paint. Again, it's very difficult when you're trying to show small scale armies close up, but hopefully you can get a good flavour of those. So finally, we've just got some of the mounted officers. These are really predominantly cavalry figures that I've converted into general sort of officer stands to complement the elephant mounted leaders of the army, and these are predominantly used depending on the type of game I'm playing, which rules I'm using, whether they require commands to be led by general pieces, in which case I'd get these out and use these. So hopefully what you've seen there is a short sort of overview of my 6mm classical Indian army. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's given you a flavour of another 6mm historical army that you could put together. As I say, most of the miniatures are Bacchus and Rapier. So again, have a look at the Strongest or Sword and Spear. They're my preferred Ancients rules at the moment. I think this army could also be quite easily adapted to the new Strength and Honor game due out shortly. Obviously it'd have to be scaled accordingly, and I'm not sure certainly initially whether there'll be lists for these type of armies, but I believe there will be other theatres planned in due course. So hopefully a lot of these armies can be adapted to various rule sets, but for not very much outlay you can certainly get yourself started with what is a fun army to play with. Lots of options and variations. Yes, it's a bit brittle. You can have fantastic results and you can have disastrous results by nature of the type of troops you're using, but it's fun, colourful and challenging to use a classical Indian army. So I hope you've enjoyed the video and look forward to seeing you again next time.